The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zoned Radio, and it's time for Dodgers baseball. A tale of two cities, from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. My name is Peter Trunk, and my co-host is Fred Wallen. Fred, how are you?
I'm reasonably well for my age, because apparently people our age keep falling. And I'd like to wish Ronnie the best of health, and he was going to come out here for the World Series, and you guys just told me about his very bad fall. And folks, walk safely, be safely, and Ronnie, we want you back on the show very soon.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned just your name was because right after that I was going to say, and of course my other co-host, Ron Rabinovitz, will not be with us tonight. Ron is incapacitated and not feeling up to par. In fact, he had his World Series trip, as Fred just mentioned, canceled. He was going to see the Dodgers in games 3 and 4 at Dodger Stadium. But now that's been jettisoned. Those plans have been jettisoned. And we wish all of us here at Comfortably Zoned Radio, not only this show, but the whole Comfortably Zoned Radio network wishes Ron Rabinovitz a speedy, very, very speedy and complete recovery. We're thinking about you, Ronnie. Well, we have a guest tonight, and the guest is Bernie Rose, a super Dodger fan. He's been on the show many times. I'd like to welcome him to the show again tonight. Bernie, how you doing?
Good. Glad to be here. My plans got changed, so I was able to actually get back on the show tonight. And I'd like to also wish Ron a speedy recovery and get back on the show as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
And, heal up real fast.
Yeah.
And now we got to talk some baseball.
Well, we got to talk some baseball, and it's not a very pleasant discussion, I'm afraid. I usually open my big mouth early and often. I'm going to sit back. I'm going to let Fred start off. Fred, what are you thinking about last night, Game 1, and tonight, Game 2, which has not begun yet? We're on the air an hour before the first pitch. Go ahead, Fred Wallen.
Okay, so I don't know if Dave Roberts is making these decisions or people above him are making these decisions, but 2 games in the last 3, he's taken David Freese out after in the game 3 games ago. He had homered and doubled, and he took him out in the 5th inning for a pinch hitter. And then on on Tuesday night, he had 2 singles, and he took him out for Monty Grandel, who is 7 for 70 in his playoff experience with the Dodgers. So I'm not anti-Grandel, but the reason he did it, it's the lefty-righty nonsense. Here's a guy in David Freese who was MVP, World Series, 211. He's faced a lot of right-handed pitchers, and that righty-lefty thing is driving me nuts because, again, statistically, Puig hits lefties better than he hits righties. Hits righties better than he hits lefties.
Right.
But the point is, stop it. Put your best players out there. And, again, you only have 2 catchers. So he pinch hits Grandel for a guy who's already had 2 hits. And then what happens if Barnes gets hurt? Tell me who the Dodgers' third catcher is. They don't have a third catcher. I'm totally mistaken. They don't have anybody left on the bench. What happens if Barnes gets hurt? Is that impossible for a catcher to take one in the neck or something like that on a foul tip, or something bad to happen? He runs to first base and he pulls something and he can't catch. Tell me why. First of all, I think you should have 3 catchers in a situation like this, but they didn't. So if you don't, I don't think you can use a guy that can replace him unless you can tell me what member of the Dodgers. First of all, forget the guys that throw left-handed. Who from the Dodgers has ever caught? Has Hernandez, has Kiki ever caught? Has anybody else who throws right-handed ever caught? What are they talking about?
bring in Jansen.
Very, very good point. You just answered your own question. 3 weeks ago, not 3 weeks ago, 3 shows ago, or maybe 4 shows ago, Ronnie Rabinovitz and I were discussing who was going to make the Dodger postseason roster. And Ronnie gave his roster who should make it, and I gave my roster who should make it. And he said, wow. He said, I said, you know what I would do, though? I would really think about this. I would think very, very long and hard and have discussions with my people that we should carry 3 catchers in the postseason, just for the reason that you just mentioned. And Ron didn't think that was important, but I kept harping on it. I said, I think they should have 3 catchers. I really do think they should have 3 catchers, just in case. You don't need 12 or 13 pitchers, in my opinion. You just don't. Especially in the beginning, it was best 3 out of 5. It was a 5-game series. You don't need 12 pitchers for a 5-game series, unless you're going to do the dipsy doodle that all these guys seem to be doing, where they pitch the one batter, they bring in another guy, they pitch the one batter, they bring in another guy, that lefty-righty stuff and all that other horse shit. But, I always thought that clubs should have 3 catchers. And for the exact reason you mentioned. He takes one on the neck or he splits a finger on a foul ball. What are you going to do? You know, you can't put Kenley Jansen back there, although he used to be a catcher. That was many years ago. You wouldn't do that. No. I don't know what they would do. But anyway, Fred, go ahead and finish your thoughts on last night and tonight. You're making some good points here.
Well, the other point, as we talked before the show began, it was an obvious situation. You go with your hot person. Okay, so Freese, 2 hits 3 games ago, home run double, pulls them. Last night, 2 singles, pulls them. Grandal, of course, strikes out. And then talking from a pitcher's point of view, look, I'm not a big Pedro Baez fan because he used to put me to sleep. He takes so many seconds between pitches, sometimes minutes between pitches. If I'm an outfit, I'm going to fall to sleep. But he's gotten better, a little bit faster as far as, between pitches, and he's getting people out. And now he comes in, and he strikes somebody out, and they ask him to walk somebody intentionally. Then he strikes the next guy out, and you've got a light-hitting third baseman who happened to hit right-handed, left-handed for the Red Sox in Devers, and you pull Baez out. You put Alex Wood in. Wood's already given up 2 home runs in the playoffs. Now he's given up 3. I don't understand it. I mean, it's like maybe somebody above Roberts, and I don't discount this, is in his earphone. I mean, maybe he's telling him, maybe Andrew Friedman or Zahidi, telling him, make that switch, because Roberts is a baseball player. He knows better than that. Don't you go with the hot guy? I mean, in these playoffs, again, not just Freese, another time, somebody hit a home run. Next time up, he's pulled out for a pinch hitter just because of the switch on the pitching mound from the other side. I grew up playing baseball. I could hit righties better than I could hit lefties. There are people like that, but assuredly, I mean, I when I saw that in the 7th inning, I didn't know obviously a 3-run home run, but I'm saying to myself, why do you pull somebody who's faced basically 3 batters, struck out 2, and the only guy that didn't strike out, you told him, an intentional walk that you asked for if you're Dave Roberts. So, folks, explain that to us right here on this show.
During the game, in real time, Bernie and I messaged back and forth during these games. In fact, we've done it all last season and all this season, even during the summer. And when he came out to the mound, and he was going to pull Baez, I texted Bernie. I said, WTF, ? What is he doing? Why is he going to pull Baez?
Right.
For what reason is he going to pull Baez? And then Bernie goes, not only is he pulling Baez, he's bringing in Wood. Oh, no. And by the time he got that out, the ball was over the fence for the home run.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it. I am in total agreement. It was shocking to me. You know, we have not been the biggest Pedro Baez fan the last few years. He has put them in many precarious situations, but for the last 6 weeks, he's been phenomenal. He has been, we've been in shock, have we not?
Yes, we have.
Yes, and he's been fantastic, and in the playoffs, he's been fantastic. There was no reason to take him out there, absolutely none. And we messaged it back there at the time, and then boom, the game was over, just like that. And shocking. And before the game started, we were like, "What is Dozier leading off? All right, you want to play him, but leading him off? I don't know, but it's obviously the American League thing." But I'll tell you what, I think Hernandez might have gotten to that ball, that one ball that knocked in, what was it, the first run?
Yeah.
That single that just was out of his reach. Mm-hmm. I think Hernandez makes that play. But, he was in center field. Yeah, I have to agree.
He might turn that double play, too.
Mm-hmm. I think you could make the case of the 30 teams in baseball. In pure talent, the Dodgers have the second most. The problem is the Red Sox have the most. So you can't make a mistake like Roberts made last night. You can't make any mistakes. None.
No, you can't not catch that foul pop from the first guy up for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, then singled and ended up scoring.
Yeah, and probably should have caught the pop-up too. But I mean, do you guys agree? I mean, the Dodgers in pure talent, if Kershaw's pitching well, probably have the second best team in baseball. But I think the Red Sox have the best. When they beat them by 14 games. Dodgers win 94. Red Sox won 2 out of 3 games. They won 108 games. The first time in how many years did anybody win 108? So
I agree. I have to agree with that. And I tell you, another thing I texted to Bernie last night, a couple of times I texted this to him. I said, how can you give a team like the Red Sox 4 outs? You can't give them 4 outs.
No.
They'll murder you.
Yep.
They'll murder you. And yet the Dodgers kept doing it. They did it a couple of times, gave them 4 outs.
Yes, and then, of course, as we all know, and it's been talked about all season, is that the Red Sox will kill you with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. And as we all know, the Dodgers will not. And it proved itself last night. That was you can talk what you want about Kershaw and Sale, and frankly, that's what I expected out of Sale. I expected them to hit Sale. Kershaw, you know what? If it was in L.A., I would have expected more. I didn't really expect him to not make it through 5, but I expected him to get hit. And he did. He can't win on the road in the playoffs. It's established. I believe it. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I don't understand it. Even when he could throw 97, he couldn't win on the road in the playoffs. I don't get it. But I was disappointed in Kershaw last night myself. Very disappointed in him. Mm-hmm. Not as disappointed as I was in Wood, but certainly disappointed in Kershaw. Fred, you want to say something?
No, I mean, it's interesting. Is one game can make a difference. I don't know from the aspect, is he going to come back next year, Kershaw, yay or nay? Grandel, of course, isn't coming back now. He is a free agent, and Kershaw has the option, and so he's going to probably take it and end up in Texas or Houston or something. But maybe one game like last night, we got the answer, and I don't know. I mean, because they made him the number one guy in the rotation again.
That's interesting. That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, that is interesting, Fred. Mm-hmm.
And again, let me just say this also. Even from the point of view of Grandel, let's go back. He's 7 for 70 in the playoffs. That's pretty hard to do. But he had that in the first game against Milwaukee. He played horribly. But these are professionals. okay, you can sit him the next game, but it's not like he's the worst catcher in the world. So now he's feeling so much pressure that every time he comes up, he strikes out. I don't know. My point is Barnes is never going to hit. If he hits the ball, Grandal is capable of hitting 30 home runs every year, or real close to that. So my point is, if I'm a manager and I'm playing from Little League to the major leagues, I don't want to embarrass somebody by going from being the first-string catcher to not playing at all, or batting for freeze and striking out on 4 pitches, because he's feeling now he's just feeling the heat. So now, if you wanted him back, and again, what this is going to mean is they got to get a hitting catcher next year because Barnes is never going to hit. So they have forced Grandal's hand now by not playing him at all. I just don't do that. I don't think you treat human beings like that. It's almost like our political world now. You can treat people and you say things and this and that. It's a mean world. I just don't think. I thought Dave Roberts had more of a heart, is what I'm basically saying.
You know what? That's also a good point. To be a manager of a Major League Baseball team, you not only have to know your X's and O's, you've got to be able to manage the men in the clubhouse, in the dugout, on the bus, in the hotel, in the bars and restaurants. You have to be able to manage them. And he might have lost, quote unquote, Grandal. You're right.
Yeah, he's given Grandal every opportunity. He played all year. He's terrible. He's gotten worse. He had one good month the whole season, and in the playoffs, he's been even worse. He can't even catch the ball. This is not about feelings. This is about trying to win a World Series. It's bad.
You know what? I have to admit that I'm the one who thought he was so smug and smart and clever, came up with the saying that Grandal catches a baseball like I catch a wet bar of soap in the shower. And I thought everybody, oh, that's so funny, that's so clever, ha, ha, ha. But you want to know something? We just lamented the fact that the Dodgers are playing with 2 catchers, okay? Guess what? They're playing with 1 catcher.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Emotionally, certainly.
They're playing with 1.
Yeah.
Who can't hit.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah.
Ryu can hit. Ryu can hit better than Barnes.
And frankly, when they started Ryu in the number 1 game, against the Braves, and I don't know, Kershaw was, I don't know if his feelings were hurt or what have you. It was his turn, and he was pitching better than Kershaw at the time. Yeah. I don't get it. We're not here. It's not a love fest. It's a ball game, and they don't owe him the first, start. They go with, who they think should be there. And frankly, since his turn was up and it worked out, I don't have a problem with them starting him last night, as long as they win tonight. And I think Kershaw will pitch fine in Game 5 in L.A. Whether they win or not is another story. But
you're assuming there will be 5 games?
Yeah. And here's the thing. If they can't hit with runners in scoring position, there may not be. They have to produce in those situations. I knew they were going to hit that guy. They went down 2-0. I was not concerned. They went down 3-2. I was not concerned. I was concerned when they brought Wood in that game at 6-5 or 5-4 rather. But whatever it was, they hit Sale, but they should have hit more. They scored those runs to tie it up, and they had guys all over the bases. But with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, did they ever hit?
Oh, yeah.
Did they ever get
they had
over
second and third? They had bases loaded. They scored 1 run. When they had second and third and they had bases loaded, they scored 1 run.
They scored on a sac fly, and they scored on a ground out. They didn't get a hit.
No hit.
Did not get a hit.
Let me put you guys on the spot. I play fantasy baseball, fantasy everything. Okay, for just quarters. But the point is, one guy gets time and a half, gets 3 over 2 for every hit or home run or single or double. So my 3 guys and I got 3 different teams going tonight. Well, tell me your 3 guys. Let's go from that aspect. Give me 3 guys that either team that you put as captain, meaning if he gets a single, which is usually 3 points, he gets 4.5 points. What 3 guys would you put on top of your 3 separate fantasy teams tonight?
Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Peter.
I'll go first. J.D. Martinez.
Yep.
Mookie Betts.
One team. Go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And Ryu.
No, it can't be a pitcher. It's got to be a hitter.
Oh, well, Ryu. That's hitters. Right. Ryu's not hitting tonight. Out in L.A. he will. All right. Good. He's a good hitter. I like the way he hits. 255 pounds. I like the way he hits. Let's see. I got J.D. Martinez and Mookie Betts. Let me take Bogarts.
Who?
I'll take Bogarts.
Okay, so I got Bogarts, I got Machado, and I got Turner, only because I'm a Dodger fan. So I put 2 out of 3 Dodger guys on top.
Well, I would take J.D. Martinez and Betts and probably Turner, but it's a sad state of affairs because when you were talking about how much talent the Dodgers have, I kind of beg to differ. I'm a big Dodgers fan. You all know this. But a lot of these guys don't get it done. They just do not get it done when it's crunch time. And I know Enrique hit 3 home runs a playoff game last year. I know Peterson hit 3 home runs in the World Series last year. But they don't get. I know Chris Taylor is actually having a great playoffs. Is he still hitting 350 after last night? I don't know. But he was hitting over 350 for the playoffs. But if you look at the overall season and when the runners are in scoring position, these guys, they don't get it done. And I can go down almost the whole freaking lineup. Peterson, Hernandez, Taylor, Puig, don't even get me started with Grandal,
Bellinger.
But with that said, and we talked about this, Bernie, before one of the shows you weren't on, Ronnie and Peter and I, we talked about how many guys, this is when they had 4 guys, I think, over 20 home runs, and we were trying to figure out how many of them would end up with 20. They ended up with 7, and that's not counting Machado. That's not counting Dozier. And Turner had 14, and he missed half the season. So they could have actually, they couldn't have played them all. But you get the point. They could have had 8 or 9 guys with 20 home runs. The 235 is an all-time Dodger high. Second, and of course the Yankees had the all-time record this year. But again, in the American League, you have the extra hitters. So that's actually pretty close as far as home runs. But your guys' point well taken. A lot of their home runs were with nobody on base, which doesn't help you as much, obviously, as with base runners. But I do think they have a lot of talent. I really do. Bellinger is faster than you can think. He may be the fastest guy on the team, can play first base or any of the outfield positions. Peterson started off as a good center fielder, not good enough for Bellinger, so he plays left, but he's a good left fielder. And Puig, I know he does his shenanigans out there, but he has one of the best arms in right field. Machado's a real good third baseman, and he's an average shortstop. Barnes, a good defensive catcher, can't hit a lick. And if Kershaw's, 100%, he's still one of the top 10% of pitchers in baseball. So I honestly think they have the second most talent in the game of baseball, but the Red Sox have extra. And
they do. And the only reason, if I may, that the Dodgers are here right now, since these playoffs started, is the same thing that they did all season long, is they hit home runs.
Yeah.
Because they hit under 200 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
So they led the National League in home runs. And you look at that series against Milwaukee, even the Braves, they won it on home runs. They had 8 million guys on the bases they couldn't score, but they came up with some big home runs, and here they are. But if they don't hit any home runs in this series, there is no chance on earth that they will win. They better start hitting some home runs.
Well, again, historically, since Price came over from Tampa, other than last game he pitched, he has been horrendous in the playoffs. So with the great velocity that he has and the great stuff that he has not come through in the clutch. So they have a shot, and they're playing, with the Green Monster. So and they got right-handed hitters in there, so it's possible the Dodgers could hit a few home runs tonight. I don't know who's going to win, but Ryu is very hittable. I'm sorry, by this Red Sox team. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, 8-4, something like last night, something in that range, 7-6, something like that. I don't see either pitcher dominating, and should be fun to watch. Although I do not like Joe Buck. I don't know how you guys feel. I love his father. Interviewed his father many times.
He hates the Dodgers.
I don't like Joe Buck, so it's tough for me to watch the entire game with the sound on. I have to be honest with you, but that's just my opinion.
I don't like him either. He doesn't even like baseball. What do you mean he doesn't like the Dodgers? He's a football guy. He doesn't like baseball.
Yeah, that might be.
He doesn't even like it. Two things I got to say, and then I'll switch over to Bernie again or Fred. I don't care. I just want to get these two things off my chest. I've always been of the opinion, and I guess I'm alone in this, or if I'm not alone, I don't have many people in the ring with me, but I'm a great believer in that baseball managers, can lose a game for you. They're not going to win many games, but they can lose a few. And Roberts lost the World Series last year. This is my opinion. Remember, I don't really need either one of you guys to say, you know what, Pete, you're right. Yeah, I don't need your backup. I truly believe that the reason we lost the World Series last year was because of Doc Roberts.
Well,
and lo and behold, we've only played one game in this World Series. Only played one, and he lost that one too. So I just had to get that. I had to get that off my chest. Baez, by the way, had held left-handed batters to 0 for 30. Their last 31.
Yeah.
The last 31 left-handed hitters against Pedro Baez were 0 for 31, and he took them out after he struck out those two guys and brought in Wood. Okay, I had to get that off my chest. I just did. Now, do you agree with Ryu starting tonight instead of Hill?
Oh, I wouldn't start Hill.
Well, wait a minute. We talked about perhaps Dozier is leading off because of the American League stuff. How about Hill? Hill pitched for the Red Sox. He pitched in Fenway Park.
But
Ryu never pitched in Fenway Park.
I think they're both hittable in a small park. I really do. It's too bad it's not Buehler's turn because he'd be the guy if he was on enough rest that would be the guy to even this series.
Well, if they could win tonight, I love having Buehler go in Game 3. But I think Hill has actually pitched very well in the playoffs.
He has.
Even those games that they took him out of the World Series last year, he shouldn't have taken him out. And that's part of the reason why you think he blew the World Series.
When
the manager
took
him out after 4 innings.
When he took him out,
and
what that set up was the rest of the series, the bullpen was tired. So you're 100% correct. When he Hill was pitching well. I think he went 4 1/3. He pulls them out, and he's got to use extra relievers. So in that game, that meant that the next game, for the entire series, the relievers pitched more than they would have had to if you let Hill go 6 or 7. But Roberts has
burned Morrow.
6 innings, 85 pitches, and you're a goner, no matter what.
He burned Morrow and Jansen last year in the World Series.
Yeah.
Morrow pitched all 7 games. He definitely burned Jansen. He brought Jansen in once when they were winning 6-2 or something like that. He didn't even need him.
Yeah.
Just unnecessary, totally unnecessary.
He should have won that World Series. There's no question. Question. Now let me, if I may.
Oh.
We know what he did in the World Series last year. Yu Darvish should not have been pitching Game 7. How they did not know he was tipping pitches, and I mean, Roberts and Honeycutt, when it seemed like everybody else knew, especially after his first start, how he pitched in Game 7 and how everybody else knew this and they didn't. Now let's go to last night. As soon as Wood gives up that home run, everybody on television, and as soon as that game was over, during the game in the booth and on every channel, as soon as the game was over, they're like, everybody knows he hits a low ball or he's a bad ball hitter. And so to put on top of the fact that what you just said, Peter, that Baez had just retired 31 lefties in a row and they take him out, so they bring in a guy who's going to throw him a low ball or a bad ball that he hits out. How do they not know? Did the Dodgers not get the same information everybody else is getting? What are Doc and Honeycutt doing?
Perhaps they got the information and Wood was bad with his location.
Well, Doc said it was a good pitch. And frankly, if you just look at the pitch as just what it was, it really wasn't a bad pitch. I hate to say it. It was just below, it was either right on the knee or just below the knee, down right on the corner. And that was a tough pitch, but you know, apparently that's that guy's wheelhouse. So why throw that
baseball? We've been watching baseball for a good number of years, and we know the old adage that a left-handed hitter is a low ball hitter.
Yeah.
Okay?
90% of the time.
I mean, that just goes hand in hand. Low ball hitters, all left-hand hitters. The last guy to hit left-handed and hit the ball very well up was a guy named Edwin Donald Snyder from Fallbrook, California. He told me once, I said, how come you could hit the high ball and no other left-handed hitter could hit the high ball? He smiled at me and he winked. This was at a card show. He smiled at me and winked and he said, a high ball hitter and a high ball drinker.
Yeah, but this batter was a right-hander because when they brought in Wood, then they took out the lefty and they pinch hit this guy because he was the right-hander going up against the lefty, and he put that low ball right over the freaking wall. And unfortunately,
Nunez, right? Nunez?
Yeah.
Nunez.
Now maybe you're right. Maybe he just didn't put the ball where he wanted to. But after the game, Doc said it was actually a good pitch. He hit a good pitch. Well,
you know something? Doc is supposed to say that. That's his man. He's got to back him up.
Yeah.
Back up your men in the press. You know, you don't say, that was a horrible pitch. Boy, I can't believe he threw that ball. You know, you got to say it was a hell of a pitch. It was a good pitch. He hit a good pitch. You got to tip your cap to, you know, all the cliches, all the baseball cliches. You know, you tip your cap to the guy. He hit a good pitch and blah, 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 this and that.
And
but
it didn't even matter because, as we said.
Let me just say something. I think in a smaller park, into left field, of course, Fenway's a small park. The Red Sox have got, I mean, I remember Joe Kelly with the Cardinals. I thought he'd be a superstar starter. He's not a superstar starter. He's a reliever, but he throws 100 blank miles an hour. They have 2 or 3 guys to throw 100 miles an hour that I saw last night. So it's not as if, and if you read if you read before the World Series the analysis, you know, they would say, okay, infield, who's better? A manager, who's better? And they got to the relief pitchers, they said Dodgers are better. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I don't think it is true. I think Kimbrel right now is a better closer, I think, than Jensen right now, than Jansen is right now, because of Jansen not being the same. I think the Red Sox relievers are also better than the Dodgers, and I think in a small park, the high fastball is harder to get around on than the pitch that Rich Hill threw to Nunez yesterday as it went over the fence. So I think in a lot of aspects, the Red Sox, and if Kershaw's not 100%, like he pitched like last night, you know, that they gave the Dodger, I think, the starting staff better. I'm not even sure if that's true, because to find out Price can come through in the clutch. He did it last time out, but before that, historically, he hasn't been able to do that. Tonight, of course, is the key game. If the Dodgers lose here, I think they're screwed. If they win here, they got a shot, because you get to a 5th game, and as you said, Bernie, that would mean Kershaw, and he's got to pitch better than he pitched last night.
Right, and I think that if the Dodgers win tonight, and they can actually win the series. I'm not trying to sit here and say they have no chance. I thought right from the start that the Dodgers can hit their pitching. You know, they've always talked about Kershaw and his playoff experiences. Chris Sale has never pitched well in the playoffs.
Oh.
He's been hit. He's been hit every single time. And they hit him last night. They didn't hit him enough, apparently, but he didn't last past the fourth inning. He was gone.
Well, let me ask you a question. So last night, Matt Kemp hits a home run. So we get to the fifth inning, and I mean, my point is, what do you have to do to stay in the lineup?
That's a good question.
That's my question. I mean, I think usually if you hit the ball hard a couple times, if I'm the manager, hey, that guy's hitting the ball hard, I'm going to keep him in. But again, in the Freeze case, twice in 3 games, he's had 2 hits. In the first one, home run and double. Last night, 2 singles. All right, so Kemp homers last night. So you just wonder how many chances he gets because, you see, you're not going to use him. It's harder to use him in a National League park. Here in the American League park, you get the extra hitter. I think you use him. I think here's a guy. See, this would be I'm looking for stories all the time, okay? So here's a guy who, when they made the trade, they never thought he'd make the team. They were just trying to dump money. He worked out. He made himself a player again. Not the world's greatest outfielder, I'll give you that. But he hit .290, and he had 20-something home runs. That would be a great story. Here's a guy who nobody thought would be playing with the Dodgers, maybe not even in the majors after the trade. He's back home where he wanted to be with the Dodgers, where he had some great seasons. Wouldn't it be fantastic if he hits a couple home runs tonight or a couple home runs tonight in the 6th or 7th game, whatever the case might be? Is Roberts going to give him the opportunity? Because once you get to Dodger Stadium again in a National League park, it's harder to play Kemp because he's playing one less hitter.
But you could definitely make a case. You could make a case to play Kemp over Hernandez in the outfield, can't you?
Once again, it boils down to another Roberts boner. He pulled another rock.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pile on. I'm just saying everything you're bringing up, it's Roberts' decision. You know, whether to play Kemp the full game or after a home run you pinch hit for him. You know.
Now, is it Roberts' decision? I don't know. I'm asking you guys seriously. Is somebody above him telling him?
Well, you know what, Fred?
We're not sure about that.
Nobody can be sure of that because unless in later life when he writes a book, if Roberts comes clean and says, I had a thing in my ear, I had a transmitter in my ear, and Friedman and Zaida were telling me what to do at the time, we'll never know the truth of the matter. So before we get to know the truth of the matter, we have to go by what we can see and hear now. And what we can see and hear now is that Dave Roberts is the manager.
Well, that's
and Dave
true.
Roberts is making the decisions.
But we know they used to tell Mattingly a lot of stuff, and we've always questioned as to whether they're doing the same thing with Roberts.
Bernie, I don't doubt that he's getting information from other places. But we can't prove it.
No,
we just have to go on. We just have to say it's Roberts.
It's
now
on Roberts.
We have
absolutely.
we all have acquaintances and we all have friends who keep harping on the fact that Roberts brought us. This is what they say. Roberts brought us to the World Series 2 years in a row. How can you say anything wrong about Roberts? Well, you know something? They used to say that about Casey Stengel. Casey Stengel brought them there 5 years in a row, and they won all 5 years. But as soon as Casey was managing the Mets, all of a sudden he lost his brilliance, or what? Point being, if you have a great team, you're going to be in the postseason and perhaps the World Series. You don't have to be a great manager to do that. You don't have to be a great manager to do that.
No.
Okay, so there it is. There you go. I don't think Dave Roberts is even. I like him. I think he's a nice guy. I'd invite him over for Thanksgiving and Christmas Eve. I'd go down to the beach with him, hang out, have some beers with him. He ain't managing my team.
So what do you?
No way.
What do you think is more assured of these two things? You ready? The Saudis killing the journalist, or Roberts getting the word from up top. Which one do you think is the most for sure, the most certain? I think they're both 100%. I think so that's I'm trying to be, I'm quite serious. Roberts can't be making all these decisions by himself because
I don't think he is either. But there's no way to prove it.
No way to prove it. I mean, there's no conceivable way he'd be doing this because if this be the case, he knows he's going to lose his job. And I don't care what you say about they're going to look. Give them okay. If they don't win it this year, and they finish third in the division next year, Roberts is gone. And then we'll find out. Well, they told me to do that. They told me to pull Hill in the fourth inning.
Right.
Or in the fifth inning, was it the fourth inning, in game 2.
Would he want to admit that? I mean, does the manager really want to
admit
that kind of stuff?
Sure he'll want to admit that. He'll want to admit that to take the monkey off of his back.
Yeah,
and he didn't make those bonehead decisions.
I don't. It's a weird thing because again,
you know how we'll probably find out if this is the case. We'll probably find out from one of his coaches in the future.
Somewhere down
bench
the road,
coach. Down the road, 5, 6, 7, 8 years from now, one of his coaches in that dugout is going to come clean, and he's going to say, my friend Dave Roberts was not as stupid as people think he was. He was taking all that advice, so-called advice from the front office, and they were telling him those moves to make. And that's the way we're going to hear it. Because Roberts has too much class. Roberts has too much class to come out and say it himself.
Let me ask you guys a question. All of us played baseball growing up. None of us made the major leagues. Does that mean that Roberts has more strategy knowledge than the three of us? Or is it possible for people who haven't played in the major leagues can know more strategy and can be better with strategy than somebody who played in the major leagues? You tell me.
It's already been proven. It's already been proven with batting coaches, hitting coaches, guys that coach these major league hitters. Justin Turner, Cruz, Nelson Cruz. These guys, they didn't even coach in college. They just studied the art of hitting, and then they taught it. And these guys take their classes. They pay them good money for this stuff. These guys never played an ounce of Major League Baseball. So no, you don't need that. It's good to have that, I suppose, because you know the ups and downs and the ins and outs of every day, every single day, every single night. Fly from this city to that city and this city to. That's where the experience comes in handy. But to answer your question pointedly, absolutely no. You don't have to be a major leaguer to know the X's and O's.
The reason I ask this question right here on Comfortably's own radio network is we have thousands of people listening. I will bet you that some of those would disagree with us. I would say some of them are screaming, saying, what are you? You know more than Dave Roberts? Here's a guy who stole second base for the Red Sox. Here's a guy who lasted a decade in the major leagues. Here's a guy who did this and that. What do you know, Fred, versus that? I'm betting that some of the people listening on Comfortably's own radio network are going to disagree with the three of us. That's all. That's the reason I brought it up, because I've heard that before.
Oh, I have no doubt.
You guys have done talk shows. I've heard that. I mean, if I second guess, Lasorda used to call me a second guesser when I used to do the Dodger pre and post game shows here in L.A. And I didn't second guess him. I was first guessing, but he didn't like it. And people would call up to me and say, what are you telling me? It's Tommy Lasorda. He played in the major league. You didn't. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, I got that all the time. That's all. The only reason I brought that up is because I honestly think, well, Trump's the president, so anything's possible. End of story.
What can I tell you? Listen, Bernie, give me a closing thought or thoughts. Let me ask you a question, point blank, Bernie Rose. Let me ask you a question. If the Dodgers lose tonight, I'm not saying can they come back and win the World Series. I'm saying do they come back and win the World Series?
Very hard to win 4 out of 5 games against this Red Sox team. I think they have to win tonight. That being said, the next 3 games are in L.A. You never really know what's going to happen. They can go home and win 3 games. But this Red Sox team looks very scary. I would think they have to win tonight.
I don't
Agreed?
think.
Fred, what do you think? They have to win tonight? Tonight's a must?
Tonight will be a high-scoring game. I don't know who's going to win. I think if they lose tonight, Kershaw will not pitch in the 5th game because there won't be a 5th game. There will not be a 5th game.
Oh, man. Wow. Okay. That's pretty heavy. I have mixed feelings because I've seen when I was a kid, when in 1955 the Dodgers lost the first 2 games of the World Series, went back to Brooklyn, won 3 in a row, came back to the Yankee Stadium, lost 1, and then won the 7th game. The very next year, the opposite happened.
Yep.
The Dodgers won the first 2 games at Ebbets Field. They went to Yankee Stadium. The Yankees won 3 in a row. They came back to Ebbets Field. The Dodgers won 1, and then the Yankees won the 7th game. So I know it's possible, and I know it's happened since those 2 World Series, but those 2 stick out in my mind. I know it happened in 1958 with the Braves and the Yanks. The Braves were up 3 games to 1. And I know it happens. Believe me, I know it happens.
If I may, the Dodgers won the first 2 games in 1978 against the Yankees and lost 4 straight.
Yeah.
And then they returned the favor. In 81, the Yankees won the first 2 games, and then the Dodgers won 4 straight. So
that's right, they did.
Yes, it can happen.
That's why my question wasn't if they lose tonight, can they win the World Series? I said if they lose tonight, do they win the World Series? Do you see it happening? And
right.
I think you said you don't see it happening. I think I hear Fred saying he doesn't see it happening, and I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. If the Dodgers lose tonight, I know they can come back and win. I don't think they do. And the reason they won't is because the Red Sox are perhaps the best baseball team in the last decade.
Yep. Except
could very well be. But I would just like to add. Oh, go ahead. You're saying something, Fred?
But let me just throw this one thing out, and I forgot who mentioned it, but I think it's an interesting point. Without the DH, what do they do with Martinez? Do they make Betts a second baseman?
Yes.
What do they do at that point?
Yes, Betts
plays second. Do, yes.
Okay. Has he ever
Peter's
played
right.
Base?
Yeah.
I think
Betts
so.
plays second. It's already a done deal. They already told the press that.
Has he
did
played
they?
second base before?
Yeah, I read that 3 different places.
Okay.
Yeah, he started with them at second base. Absolutely.
Yeah, he started, right.
I did not know
second
that.
baseman.
Okay.
Second baseman. They moved him, believe it or not, they moved him to center field.
Oh, yeah.
And the only reason they moved him to right field was because of when Benintendi came up, they put Benintendi in center field.
Yeah.
And then when they saw what Jackie Bradley Jr. could do with the glove, they said, we have 3 center fielders, but Jackie Bradley Jr. is going to be the starting center fielder.
Yep.
All 3 of the Red Sox outfielders are actually center fielders.
Very curious about the 81 series when the Yankees won those first 2 games. And then Fernando Valenzuela pitched Game 3. And he was a young kid.
Yeah.
You know, he was a big star right off the bat. But he was a young kid. And he got in a little trouble early. And he gutted his way through it. And I don't remember that he pitched the whole game, but he went deep. He shut them down. The Dodgers won that game and obviously won 4 in a row there. So now, if they lose tonight, then they're going to have their young star to be, apparently, pitching Game 3. It could be a very interesting, similar scenario. And Because once you win Game 3 and you're only down 2-1 and you're still at home, it's not over. So from the beginning,
you know what? 99 times out of 100, I not only understand but agree with what you just said. But these are the 2018 Boston Red Sox. This team is relentless. They're relentless. They never give up. They never stop. They go nuts. They put their boot on your neck, and they not only keep their boot on your neck, they put their other boot on your neck too. They do.
They look really good.
Incredible.
The Dodgers were unbeatable like last year. They were the best team in baseball.
Yes,
they had the most
Dodgers
wins.
were hot shit last year. Yep, they were.
And when they were down in the 7th, 8th inning, they didn't care. They just kept winning. And
exactly.
But they lost Game 7.
The only thing though, Bernie, remember this? They lost 16 out of 17 in September.
Yeah, they did.
That put a damper on the greatness of that team. To me,
it did. They could have won 15 games. Yeah.
I know. It threw a wet blanket on that season for me. You know, not counting the World Series.
Yeah.
You know,
it did.
Losing 16 out of 17, that was like, whoa, something is radically wrong here. You know, the Red Sox would never lose 16 out of 17.
I still say that they can hit the Red Sox pitching.
They
have to do it. And one more time, if I may, they have to do it with men on and 2 outs. They got to. They have to.
We'll see.
Yeah. If they don't, it's over.
See. We'll see. All right, gentlemen. Enjoy your night. Enjoy the game. Turn your sound down so you don't have to put up with Mr. Buck and his bullshit. And thank you for your contribution to the show. Thanks for coming on an hour early. And to our listening audience, thank you for listening once again. This is Dodgers Baseball, A Tale of Two Cities, and signing off saying good night for the Comfortably Zoned Radio. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
The proceeding was a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production. Thank you for listening.